Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Dr. Ferdinando Mirarchi. Dr. Ferdinando Mirarchi is the medical director of the UPMC Hammett Emergency Department in Erie, Pennsylvania. He is the chief of emergency services for UPMC's Northern Tier of Emergency Services and is the chairman of the UPMC Hammett Physician Network Governance Council. He is the principal investigator of the Triad Research Series, or known as the Realistic Interpretation of Advanced Directives. The results of his Triad research have been featured in the New York Times, Washington Post, Boston Herald, and many more nationally syndicated outlets. The Triad research has confirmed that there is new nationwide and global patient safety risk related to confusion surrounding living wills, DNR, and post orders. Dr. Mirarchi's Triad research has also set the foundation for the development and utilization of a state-of-the-art evidence-based patient safety solution called MIDEO, or My Informed Decision on Video. MIDEO has been structured to be both a video and advanced directive and portable physician's medical order that is prescriptive, clarifies existing documents, and retrievable in seconds.
Well, good afternoon, Fred. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you on. Obviously, we feature people from all over the world, from every type of background and vertical. And in this case, Fred, you are a emergency room physician. And so we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about your background and what you're doing out there. So thanks again for being on the show. And so, Fred, let's jump right in. You've got quite the career in medicine as a physician, researcher, and now you're the medical director of emergency services at UPMC Hammett Medical Center. Could you share with our audience the secret to your career growth and what inspires you?
Yeah, so everybody's different and people come from lots of verticals, right? So for me, it was always just to take care of patients, take care of people and help people. You know, I was different growing up. You know, most kids want to be an NBA player, a football player, whatever. I always told my parents I wanted to be a doctor.
Thank you for sharing that. And, you know, how did you get into emergency medicine? I guess is the question I would have for you.
Yeah. So emergency medicine is one of those fields. You see everything from the newborn delivery to the end of life patient. But there's lots of facets in emergency medicine that make it very, very rewarding. You know, taking care of trauma patients, taking care of cardiac patients, taking care of patients right at the brink of death and getting them better. And then at the other end of it is also having that patient at their end and essentially making things happen for that patient that are natural and comforting to families. So there's a wide spectrum of practice in emergency medicine, and that's what really drew me to it.
Great. Thank you for sharing. And like you, Fred, I've been into the healthcare space for 20 years, obviously not as a clinician, but on the technology side. So I certainly can relate, and you all do some great workouts there. So thank you. And so jumping into this pandemic a little bit, Fred, hopefully it's starting to lift. Hopefully it'll go away forever, but you never know. What are your plans to get your research published out to the medical world now?
Yeah, so that is always the biggest problem, you know, and from the time you publish research, and mind you, I've published in journals of emergency medicine, patient safety. So this should be frontline news. The same Triad research and our approach on what we call MIDEO has been published in New York Times, Wall Street Journal, yet it still hasn't gotten to the point of making the impacts. And truly, it takes 17 years. But I'll be honest, the country, the world, they don't have 17 years. When it comes to patient safety issues, they don't have 17 years, and you have to find something disruptive to really help keep patients safe. And I think that's what we've done in the research and what we've done with bringing about this concept called MIDEO. But now it's really time to get out and play. You got to get to the different CEOs of healthcare organizations, the chief medical officers, chief quality officers, the health plans, and essentially make them realize that there's a better way to do things, that what they're paying for today is actually something very dangerous and putting patients at risk and putting their institutions at legal risk for malpractice now.
You're absolutely right. It seems like everything is, and sometimes it takes a pandemic, right? You know, look at the FDA record approval on this vaccine or vaccines, which is simply amazing. It's something unheard of, right? So
absolutely.
Hopefully as far as patient safety and the well-being of patients. I think you're absolutely right. We need to get out there and disrupt this and get this information out, published, and make other clinicians and folks in your space aware of this, because 17 years is way too long. So thank you for sharing that. Let's talk a little bit about technology, right? You mentioned MIDEO. Maybe we can talk about that. Normally I ask, are you leveraging any new or emerging technologies within your department or your research? But maybe you can talk a little bit about MIDEO here.
Sure. So MIDEO is a concept that we really took from a study, and we put that study into clinical practice. And that was a study called Triad 8, where we took a look at forms and how doctors looked at forms and then interpreted forms and provided care. And we saw it was a disaster, quite frankly. And then we built a concept called patient to clinician video, which we script a very poignant 60 to 90 second video of a patient speaking to a provider, a medical provider, in terms that they could actually understand. Because that's one of the big problems what everyone has always said with living will documents. They're vague, they're legal, and so on. So now we created a concept and essentially built it into a patient speaking to a provider. So it's very transformative. And in tech spaces, it's very disruptive. And it's really what I would think to call Jetsons like. If you remember the Jetsons in the future, everything was about the future in that cartoon. Now you can take a patient at the brink of death or critical illness and bring them back into the clinical scenario to have voice to a doctor and see a patient actually speaking to that doctor in real time in less than 5 seconds anywhere in the world. That is huge as far as patient care and safety.
I love that. And truly, we are leveraging, not only technology, but we're leveraging, people's ideas, people that are being creative and innovative. And it's all for the better of humankind. And that is what really gets me juiced on these conversations, these podcasts, is hearing the great work that people like you are doing, Fred. So thank you again.
Thank you.
You bet. Fred, last thing here, could you share something maybe from your career experience that might be helpful for those looking to grow their career in either healthcare or leadership?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. And the one thing I would tell everybody listening is if you believe in something, never give up on it, because you will come across people, especially in leadership, in medicine, in many sectors of business, that are just negative and they're just pessimists. And that's okay. They can be pessimists, but you shouldn't let it beat you down. And if somebody's in your way, don't waste the time and energy to barrel through them. Go around them and prove them wrong. I mean, you can make so much more gains and impacts by going around people and just doing what you do to take care of patients. And as long as it's genuine, you will find people to believe in you, your work ethic, your belief system, and so on, and you will succeed. If you waste time just continually barreling through these rigid walls, you'll find yourself burning out very quickly and getting disgusted or dismayed. So that's what I would tell people. Never give up and always think outside of the box to get around those that are in your way.
I think that's some great advice, Fred. And I know the audience here would certainly appreciate that, no matter what their background and what their career status is today. So thank you for sharing. And Fred, it was a pleasure having you on today, and I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Bye for now.